Once upon a time, there was a poor woodcutter called Geppetto. All day long, he worked in the forest, chopping sticks to sell for firewood. One evening, after eating his dinner, Geppetto fell asleep in his chair and dreamed a most wonderful dream. He dreamed that one of the sticks he had chopped in the forest hopped up to his chair and spoke to him.
Hello, Master Geppetto. Don't sell me for firewood, please. I'm no ordinary stick. I want to be a puppet.
At that, Geppetto awoke, and no sooner said than done. He quickly took the stick of wood and began carving it. And as he worked, Geppetto sang happily.
A stick of wood is very good to make a puppet for me. I'll chop and chip from top to tip, and then a puppet he'll be. He'll have a pointed nose and wooden hands and toes. And when he's done, he'll skip and run and dance wherever he goes.
And so Geppetto worked, and soon the puppet was done.
And now I must find a name for my puppet.
But my name is Pinocchio, and I'm not always going to be a puppet. I want to be a real boy.
Well, that would be wonderful. But then you'll have to go to school like other boys. You'll need a book and pencils and a school bag.
Of course I will. You'd better go right out and buy them. And tomorrow I'll go to school.
But where can I get money for that? I'll have to sell my ragged old coat.
Selfish Pinocchio didn't understand that if Geppetto sold his coat, he would have nothing left to wear through the cold winter weather. But no sooner was Geppetto gone than Pinocchio heard a cricket singing.
Cree, 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 cree.
Who are you?
I'm your cricket. Whenever you do anything you shouldn't do, you'll hear my song. When you hear the cricket song, cricket, stop and wonder, am I right or am I wrong? Cricket sings the cricket.
So sang the cricket, and then, before he went away, he added, Pinocchio, if you ever tell a lie, your nose will grow and grow. Well, the next morning, Pinocchio took his book and pencil and school bag, and off he went to school. However, just before he came to the schoolhouse, he heard the most wonderful music. It was a puppet show. Crowds were going in, so Pinocchio forgot all about school and went in too. The show had already begun. The puppets were riding on puppet horses, and it seemed to Pinocchio as he came in that they were calling to him.
Come on, Pinocchio, come on and join our puppet show. You'll do the things that puppets do, and be a little puppet too. Upon a hobby horse you'll ride, and rock and sway from side to side, and in a twinkling you will be across the land, across the sea. Come on, it's time to go. Come on, Pinocchio, we'll ride to Puppet Land, and then we'll all come riding home again.
When the show was done, the puppet master wanted Pinocchio to stay with him and be a puppet actor. But suddenly Pinocchio remembered.
Oh, no, I can't stay. I don't want to be a puppet. I want to be a real boy.
When the puppet master heard that Pinocchio couldn't stay, he gave him some money for his work. Take this money home to Geppetto, he said kindly. With this money, he'll be able to buy a new coat. How fine that sounded to Pinocchio. But things were not to be that easy for him. No sooner was he outside the puppet theater than he met a fox and a cat.
I am a fox. You can tell from my bark that I'm a very kind and helpful fox.
And I, my friend, am a very kind and generous cat.
I'm Pinocchio, And I have some money I'm taking home to Geppetto.
As soon as they heard this, the fox and the cat decided they could get the money.
We know where you can get lots and lots of money for your father.
Where? Lots of money? Where can I get it?
Listen. There is a place I know, a secret spot,
A garden spot.
where copper pennies grow. They blossom in the grass like flowers, but you'll have to let us hold your hand, or we can't lead you to this land, this wondrous land I know. A secret spot, a lovely spot, where copper pennies grow, and you can pick them all like flowers.
That must be a wonderful place, thought Pinocchio. And he gave his hands to the fox and the cat. But Pinocchio still kept the money clutched so tightly that the fox and cat could not get it. Then the fox changed his plan.
Perhaps you'd better go there by yourself, Pinocchio. Just follow this path through the woods, and you'll get there.
Away ran Pinocchio on his puppet legs. In the deepest part of the woods, he looked back and saw the fox and the cat following him. Faster than ever he ran, and soon left them behind. But now Pinocchio was lost. He wandered on, cold and hungry, and at last came to a little house with a blue light shining in the window. He knocked at the door, and a lovely voice answered.
Come in, Pinocchio.
It was his fairy godmother. Pinocchio told her everything that had happened to him. But when it came to the money, he gripped it tightly in his hand and said,
I lost the money. I lost it while I was running away from the fox and the cat.
Pinocchio's nose suddenly grew longer, and it seemed to him he heard the cricket singing.
I put the money under a stone, but a bird found it and flew away with it.
Now Pinocchio's nose grew so long, it went right out of the window and stuck in a tree.
Oh, stop, Mr. Cricket. I won't tell any more stories. I am a naughty puppet, and I have the money for Geppetto here in my hand, and I'll never be naughty again.
And Pinocchio burst into tears. But his fairy godmother comforted him. And when he told her what really happened, she waved her magic wand, and a flock of birds flew into the room and pecked away at Pinocchio's wooden nose until it was the right size again. The next morning, Pinocchio and his fairy godmother returned to the village, but Geppetto's little house was empty. A neighbor told them Geppetto thought Pinocchio was lost, and so he was traveling all through the world to find him. Pinocchio began to cry, but again his fairy godmother comforted him.
Don't cry, Pinocchio. Someday Geppetto will come back home. Meanwhile, I'll stay here with you.
And so Pinocchio and his fairy godmother stayed on in the village. The morning after they arrived, Pinocchio went back to school. His best friend was a boy called Carrot Top, and he was the silliest boy in the whole school. One day, Pinocchio went to invite Carrot Top to his birthday party. When he came to Carrot Top's house, there stood Carrot Top all dressed up, with a suitcase in his hand and a crowd of children around him. When they saw Pinocchio, they called out,
Hey, Pinocchio! Are you coming along with us?
Come on with us, Pinocchio!
Where are you going?
We're sick and tired of school. We're going away to the land of fools, where the silliest things happen. Every day a coach comes riding by, clappity-clip to the land of fools. And you hear the jolly coachman cry, come on a trip to the land of fools. There we stay up late and play night and day, till we all get tired of yawning. If you ask me how it is, I know Listen and
then
sing it again.
sing it again.
Once I met a bigger fool than I, and he told me this was so.
At that moment, a coach came rolling up, stuffed with boys and drawn by 20 little donkeys with kid shoes on their feet. Carrot Top and all his friends clambered aboard and called to Pinocchio to come, and the jolly coachman called too.
Come on, young fellas. I can't wait. Are you coming or staying behind?
The coachman cracked his whip as he spoke. Just as the wheels of the coach began to turn, Pinocchio hopped aboard. Soon they came to the land of fools. It was the most crowded country Pinocchio had ever seen. Sure enough, however, everything there was just as silly as Carrot Top had said it would be. One day, Pinocchio noticed that his ears were growing longer. The next day, he looked in the mirror again and saw that they had become real donkey's ears. And then he looked at his feet, and under his little white kid shoes, he had hooves, just like a donkey's. And Carrot Top and all his friends had donkey ears and donkey hooves, just like Pinocchio. They opened their mouths to speak, and all they could say was, hee-haw, hee-haw. When he heard the hee-haws, the jolly coachman came back again.
So you have become donkeys too, have you? Well, then, now's the time to sell you to the circus. I think you'll fetch a fair price, my little donkeys.
And sell them he did that very day. The circus man took them away and trained them to run in a troupe in his show and do tricks. The trumpets would blare. The ringmaster would crack his whip, and into the circus the troop of donkeys would come trotting.
Around and around and around in the circus, the poor little donkeys must gallop each day. Around and around and around in the circus, but never, oh never to gallop away. Around and around and around in the circus, we hear the whip crack and we're bound to obey. Around and around and around in the circus, but never, oh never to gallop away. Far over the mountains and over the valley and over the river we'd run if we could. And over the flowers and over the furrows and over the meadow and into the wood. But now it's around and around in the circus, we poor little donkeys must gallop each day. Around and around and around in the circus, but never, oh never to gallop away.
And so it went on, day after day, as the circus traveled from town to town. But one day, Pinocchio hurt his foot, and the ringmaster decided Pinocchio couldn't work in the circus any longer. He sold Pinocchio, who was still a donkey, to a farmer. Pinocchio stayed with the farmer all summer. And one day, when Pinocchio's foot was better, the farmer hitched him to a beautiful donkey cart and drove to the fair, where all the people were singing and dancing.
Clap hands and sing, and in a merry ring, come dancing to the music as the pipers play. Our work is done, it's time for everyone to join us in a happy farmer's holiday. Our sheep are shorn, we've gathered in our corn. Clap hands and sing, and in a merry ring, together we will dance the harvest day away.
Pinocchio watched as the villagers and farmers sang and danced. Sadly, he stared out to sea and thought of his father, Geppetto, wandering all over the world, still looking for him. As he watched, a small boat came into the harbor, and he heard the sound of the sailors' voices singing over the waters.
Yo-ho, yo-ho, over the ocean we go. Over the ocean the wild winds may blow. Dark clouds are flying and seagulls are crying, and whales swim about in the waters below. Yo-ho!
As Pinocchio watched, the waves grew wilder and the wind grew stronger. The little boat overturned, and Pinocchio saw his father, Geppetto, in the water, crying for help. When Pinocchio saw Geppetto on top of a huge wave, he jumped into the water and swam out to him.
Geppetto! Father Geppetto! Climb upon my back, Geppetto!
Geppetto climbed upon his back, and Pinocchio swam with him back to shore. There, the kind farmer and all the village people stared at Pinocchio. Pinocchio was no longer a donkey. He was a real boy.
He's a boy.
No more donkey ears.
He really is a boy.
And even greater was the wonder of the village people when the fairy godmother, the puppet master, and Geppetto appeared and told them what had happened.
When he acted like a donkey, he really was a donkey.
And when he acted like a puppet, he really was a puppet.
And when he acts like a boy,
He really is a boy.
And the cricket had something to add to that.
When you hear your cricket song, cree, 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 don't you wonder, every single time you're wrong, you will hear your cricket. Dream of sorrow, dream of joy, be a puppet or a donkey. When tomorrow comes, you'll find you're still a little boy. And you'll hear your cricket song, cree, 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 when you blunder. Listen as you go.